everyone, and welcome to Get Real with Jack and Cindy. I'm Cindy Morrison.
And I'm Jack Wallace. Welcome, welcome. Glad to have you back. It's just you and I for we haven't done this in a while.
I know. And I feel like I haven't seen you.
I know, it's crazy. But what an exciting thing. I think it's been so fun talking to all these different people about different things.
Because we're selling a community, not just a home.
Yeah. Well, and also I've had a lot of people say they really like that. It was like the getting real aspect of, really everyone, even when they were talking, they were talking about what made them get into what they're doing and what makes what motivates them to do what they do and what they love about it. So I think that's really important. I think we got to really keep working on that, because I think sometimes it's really easy to forget about the fact that we all do things because we love them, hopefully, and that's a happy life, right? So yeah, I think it's been a really great thing. So we have to keep coming back to this but we're going to do a lot more of those kind of things too, though, because I think we really
by popular demand.
Yeah, and it's interesting, and it's the community that we live in, like you said. I mean, we're featuring, and for those of you that support us in business, we want to support you in business. So
Absolutely.
That's really important. So yeah, it's really been great. But today we're going to focus back on, and I think this will be helpful for people that are in real estate or not in real estate, because I don't know if you are aware, and if you are not aware, you've been living under a rock, that Cindy is the queen of social media. I mean,
where is my crown when I need it?
Yeah. It's a heavy crown, I'm sure. Yeah. And I need to get much better at it. And, and it is funny because I'm never going to be doing what you're doing, because that isn't how, my background is not in television and film. For you, that is such a great match, and it works really well. And, my background is a little bit different, but I need to add more of those things into the mix. I need to do more of those things. And, I think it's an interesting time because there's so many types of social media now.
Yes.
And also there's so much noise.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
And so I have to really figure out for myself. And so this is a little bit like I'm actually asking for a therapy session from you.
Anytime.
Yeah. I think it's about, honestly, this is kind of right, because those social media, and I think about what we're supposed to do with it. But then I look at how it's being used by others. And I think people are doing some great things. Don't get me wrong.
How it's being used and abused by others.
Yeah. And the first thing I'll just say is that I think right now we're in very heated times politically. I'm not going to go into politics. I'm not going to do that. But my point on that is there are a lot of people that are doing that. And it's making it where I know a lot of my friends are just going off of social media, turning the television off, because they are so sick of the anger. And I also have I'm going to just be honest, I've had to unfollow a number of people, and not just one side of the aisle. It's like I can't.
Both sides exhaust me right now.
I can't live in that. And I think you have to speak up for what you believe in. You have to stand for what you stand for 100%. But there's a time and place.
And when you are a business owner,
it's different.
It's and hey, freedom of speech for everyone. But when you're a business owner, you could be turning away potential business because of your beliefs, and that, it's your social media, you do what you want. But I'll talk about my faith, but I don't talk about different religions, especially putting someone down. I don't talk politics in general, especially if it's putting someone else down. And I just think as a business owner, there's a fine line you walk if you want to work.
Absolutely. And I think it's even, I grew up with a dad who owned a construction company, and he never had a bumper sticker, and he had very strong beliefs, but he never had a bumper sticker, or he never had any of those things because that were inflammatory, because to him, that was a dividing line between him and the public. Now, he supported his causes. He did what he could to do the good work that he believed in, which I think we should all do. But, if you're, God rest his soul, Jimmy Carter, whether you like him politically or not, if you think he was a bad person, then you don't need to use me as your realtor, because he was an amazing man who
Mhm.
did amazing things. And especially even with, talking about housing, like his whole mission was to get housing for people that couldn't afford housing, to the point that the Secret Service would sleep in trucks outside of these homes while he and Rosalind slept on the floor of homes that they were building for the poor.
Mhm.
To me, that's somebody who has built a life as a politician who is doing things for
And making a difference.
making a difference, and that is their life.
Mhm.
That is not who we are at this point. Now, you may have that in your life in other areas, and that's fine. But when we're talking about our business presence
And building your brand.
yes, and people, here's where it gets confusing, and I think this is important. I want your opinion on this.
Okay.
Because for a while we have our business social media, and we had our personal account. And a lot of times
Now they've
people
all melted together.
they have, and I think that's the thing people are not thinking about so much, because for years you could have your friends all on your personal page and you could say whatever you wanted, and they, you were talking to your people. But your business page was kind of your sacred business landing page.
Mm-hmm.
But then everyone had to move over kind of to their personal page, because you had to reach your COI, and because that was the trend that everybody was doing.
Circle of influence. Yeah.
Yeah. So with that happening, now I think we're running into this realm of, like when I go on someone's page or I'm on social media, and somebody who I respect in a business sense, but they're saying sort of hateful things about people that I love, I can't do it.
Yeah.
And it's just, and I can't think of them the same once that's been crossed.
I don't think that's utilizing social media. I think that's just going on a rant, and you just happen to have a platform to broadcast it. Strategically using social media, if you own your own business and you want to build your brand, is very different than just throwing out there hate and without a strategy. I mean, if you want to be a comedian or you want to be a politician, or there's awesome. But if you want to be a business owner that's successful and has open doors for whoever might want to do business with you, that is not a strategy.
Right. And I think I struggle some, because I do have strong beliefs, I have strong opinions. And so at times I feel like maybe I'm being a coward because of that. But I think,
not at all.
what? I think that civility goes a long way, and example goes a long way. And we talk about kindness all the time. So is, in my opinion, when I look at things and there's so many times when I want to respond, or I want to, or, here's the thing. I see an article about something and I think I need to share that. And I think, well, do you know that to be true? Truly true, first of all, because I don't want to spout something that isn't true. And then second, is it really going to make anybody who is looking at my Facebook understand something they wouldn't? No, it's not. I think we're either here to inform or to inspire. Like, I think those are the way I have to look at it. And informing that's the thin line that's tricky, right? Because we think we're informing people of things they need to know, but is that really true? Or are you just mad and spewing your opinion?
Well, and one of the things I think as a journalist that has been really frustrating for me is, social media, Facebook, Instagram, all these different platforms want to be relevant. If they're not relevant, you're not going to be on them. So they serve up what you talk about and what you believe in. So especially during COVID, people couldn't talk to other people face to face and, see emotions and see the look on people's faces. And so they were constantly served up. I'll just use an example, far right or far left. So then they begin to think everyone thinks like them. The other side is an idiot because they're not hearing those, or they're watching, a certain type of broadcast on television where it's not the old journalism where you report the news. It's you make the news. You try to come up with a soundbite that 24/7. So depending on what you're watching, if that's the only channel you're ever watching on both sides, then again, you begin to get very narrow-minded. So I think as a business owner, That's why social media and having a strategy is so important.
And one thing I'm seeing that I think is eye-opening there are companies that really have built they've built their business on look at what we do right for the community, which is cool.
Subaru is a great example of that.
I'm talking, I guess, a little bit less controversial because Subaru is about taking care of animals. I mean,
Okay.
you know what I mean? So like, to me, like that's pretty cool. But when you're talking about being more about specific people and things, which I agree with it. But then when you have to shift because of politics or because of legalities or laws or whatever, then you have a backlash. So suddenly you've been not used by the people for years because you were too far that way. Then when you have to make an adjustment, then suddenly people who have been using you don't want to use you because you aren't being enough on board. So suddenly you're in no man's land.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy to get caught up in, look what this is doing for me. People are connecting with me and they're coming to me, but boy, they will turn on you.
Mm-hmm. The cancel culture. I mean, it's alive and well.
Yeah. And I think that's a lot of what's going on. But I think now we have to understand that cancel culture is something we live with on both sides.
Absolutely.
And so the only way that you can really avoid that is staying on topic of what it is that we're doing, which is why, I mean, for me, I try to share positive things. I try to share my business things, but I try really hard to stay off of the other. And again, if I was retired and I was in business, if I was employed by somebody, that I would have a different opinion. So, I mean, I'm not saying you can't do that. It's like, I'm talking specifically like you are about businesses. So please understand that I'm not telling people to not speak out and to speak their truth. I just think there's a time and place. And I think we're getting really murky and really confused right now with that.
Right. And that's where I think, outlining a strategy, once I left TV news and started my social media business, that's what we did is we sat down with businesses and we did a full strategy of, not just what they want today, but where they want to be in 5 years, what their voice is, what makes them different from everybody else. If it's a car dealership, what makes that dealership and that brand different than not just everybody else in town, because you can call a dealership in Minnesota and have your car shipped here. What sets you apart that makes people want to do business with you? And when you sit down and truly dig in, because now I've done this for myself in real estate, and you figure out what do I want my legacy to be? What do I want my customers to look like? By the way, if you're a narcissist, do not call me. I'm not taking any more of them after last year. I'm just saying.
All right, well, bye.
Yeah. But, what do you think of the clients that make you the most money and make you happy?
Amen.
That you get to do your job, not that you have to do your job.
Amen.
So come up with a persona of who that person is or people and create
sort
content.
of the law of attraction.
Yes.
Yeah.
Create that content that would attract them to you. And it is much easier. But the problem is a lot of times we look for the low-hanging fruit, and that's not always the healthiest or the best. What is it? You pay, you end up paying attention to the people who make you miserable or don't make you money, and you're not paying attention to that 20% that's the sweet spot.
Well, it's setting yourself up as a people pleaser, which so many of us are, including me. Yeah.
Hello.
So the people pleaser part of you.
People pleaser, me.
Like, yeah. So
people pleaser.
If you're not if you're unhappy with me, then I'm going to do whatever I can to make you happy. Oh, you're happy with me, I'll let you burn over here. Like, you just keep simmering, and then finally they go, okay, well, we're not happy anymore. And so they, like. I think it's exhausting to live that way. It's just exhausting.
You live your truth. It is not as exhausting.
Amen.
And I have to take about twice a year, a little break from social media. I'm kind of doing my little break now. There's just maybe a post a day for a week where I just kind of have to breathe. It's usually around Christmas.
I'm just going to be honest. A post a day would be like, I was slamming. But that's my level and your level. Amen.
But depending on your strategy, posting all the time because you have nothing to post is obnoxious.
Right.
But if you have something to say and you're speaking your truth and being able to share that and educate people, it makes it a lot more fun and energizing to be on social media.
It's funny because right now I'm going through all of our camp auditions. So listening to kids, and we do a lot of them. They have to tell their story. They have to do a number. I mean, it's like 5 videos that they send about, to audition. And, and it's just amazing because they're a great generation. They're great. We're in good hands. I mean,
Yes,
they're a
we
good
are.
generation. But I will say the one thing that I find really interesting, and maybe shouldn't say this, but I will. I think we are raising a generation that has a lot of anxiety.
Oh yeah.
And they talk about it, which I appreciate that they talk about
They
it.
appreciate mental health, and they appreciate addressing and taking care of their mental health, which is huge. My dad was a psychologist, so I've always been about mental health.
I had a husband who killed himself. So, I mean, that's very serious to me. But I will say this. I worry that they're just kids that are in this environment and this world. It's like everyone in the world is being raised by raging alcoholic parents. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's
I don't mean to laugh at it, but yes.
No, I mean,
yes.
It's like, if you think about, I had turned the news off for a long time, and I turned it back on recently, and I started getting where I was like actually having like a little bit of heart palpitations. Because I was like, this is, I mean, and I have to find the balance between the two of where I'm informed and I know what's going on. But I mean, I couldn't even watch the business channel for a while because it was so incendiary about these two sides of every. I was like, I love the business channel. I know that's geeky, but I do. I love the business channel. But this fighting over things that have nothing to do with business, I couldn't even listen to it.
Because it gets ratings. That's why they do it.
Yeah. So then I go back to, I'm going to read reports. I started going back to reading reports. Whenever the companies would do their reporting, I would read the report, because to me, that's telling me what the trends are. I mean, like, you have to kind of go back and find your level. But
my son's calling. I'm gonna. I'll call him back here in a minute.
So anyways, no, but I just think that's an important thing. I think we need to be creating content that informs and inspires. We don't want to be a part of this culture that is riling people up. And I mean, and I think even with what we do, it's been a rough couple of years for what we do, because interest rates have been so high. And so you can get into, why is that happening? What will solve that? And so that ball keeps going and
that's
rolling.
where I come to you.
Yeah. And I mean, and that's why I love the business channel, because I want to know why. And like right now, rates are down. Rates are down because the 10-year treasury, I mean, there's that correlation, is down. That's down because the economy ain't looking so good. And so it's all relative. So, the trade-offs and the payoffs and all that becomes very confusing, and how it all goes together. And we have to know how it's working. But at the same time, I feel like our job is to respond to what is real in real time, instead of trying to shadow and shadow and shadow. And I think that's the problem. I have no control over policy.
Right.
I have no control over policy. What I have control over is knowing the numbers, knowing the trends, knowing history,
being informed,
our business, and how mortgage rates reducing increases demand by buyers.
See, that's a great social media post. Yeah. If we could boil that down, I would understand it better than people who drone on and on and on about it, and I lost the point 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think that gets into, like, it's people who want to hear themselves talk, which I'm guilty of that to a certain degree. I think we all are. But it's like, the reality is, the information is, why are interest rates down? And then you have to get into, okay, so then if those things start going back up, what's going to happen to interest rates? They're going to go back up too. And what does that happen to demand? So like right now, when interest rates are low, if you've been thinking about dropping your price, what should you do? Drop your price, because you don't know in 2 weeks what's going to happen.
Right.
And so this idea of, well, we'll wait 2 weeks and see, well, that you may have missed an opportunity there.
Right.
Because that buyer is like, I got to lock in today, because tomorrow my house payment could be $200 more if I don't.
Right.
So
Yeah.
your house is affordable today, but tomorrow it may not be.
So this would be part of your strategy, your social media strategy,
Okay.
is taking these big things that mean a lot and boiling them down, not making it elementary school. I'm not talking about that, but making it where it's understandable. And I go back to TV news because, you know, when you said something, it wasn't like the newspaper where you could go back and go, oh, 2 paragraphs ago, what was that? I need to reread that.
Mm.
So you want to present that the average person out there can understand, because that will make a difference in their buying or selling.
And then the hope in that is the person who would relate to me,
Mm-hmm.
would respond to that and seek me out for help and guidance, because they go, that guy, it can explain it in a way that I understand. Or somebody else would go, he's so boring, I don't want to do that. You know what I mean?
And
Like,
it
and that's
probably
fair.
wouldn't be a
And
good business relationship anyway.
100%.
Yeah.
So
I
again,
have to work with clients that appreciate marketing, because when I walk into an appointment and they say, oh yeah, I don't believe in social media, I'm like, I'm not your agent then.
no, I think that's very fair.
Because then I'll end up fighting that battle the entire time that we work together, as opposed to,
well, you can't get the job done if the way you do business is that.
Mhm.
You can't get the job done if they're going to be fighting you on that. And that, I think, that's years of experience in real estate, and the realization of, oh, you're looking for this, you're looking for so and so, I'll give you their number.
Right,
But
right.
I'm not that person.
Happy to make a
Yeah.
referral. So with social media, so I teach a 3-hour course,
Mhm.
CE course, continuing education, that is specifically about realtors using social media and AI. And I love this.
Love AI.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, Sarah.
And who brought you onto the AI bandwagon?
You did. And you know what? Today, Sarah and I were talking about, like, we put into ChatGPT, like, maybe things that you would like to say, and then asking it to say them in a nice way, like and it was so hysterical. I mean, it really, it's amazing how effective it is at moderating you.
Yeah. I got to where I wouldn't call back this narcissistic client. Clearly I didn't have that from a psychologist, but from the gaslighting and other things. And I would not call her back till I put it in ChatGPT, and like it automatically knew who she was, because they're, oh, you're talking about that person again, and would coach me through, here's how you answer that.
Interesting.
Took the emotion out of it.
And I think that's, I think it's a very fair thing. Again, we talked about mental health earlier. You have to keep your mental health in check.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes your mental health is, honestly, you're not a psychiatrist, psychologist. You can't really say whether she is or isn't a narcissist. But her behavior was definitely demonstrating
narcissistic
behavior. And so for you, you have to go, oh, okay. So I think that's the thing too. Like, once you're in that situation, you have to deal with that. Now, what's interesting to me is that over the years, I also get to where I walk in and go, oh, no, this doesn't work. It's very rare. It's very rare. But I've had those times when I went, yeah, this is too, I've done this 2 times before.
Sure.
And it didn't really work for me. Like, if they're trying too hard to make something work that I don't think is going to work, do I really want to step into that?
Right.
Yeah. No, I think that's really important.
Yeah. So with this class, I teach that there are 4 pillars of your social media.
Okay.
We'll see if I can remember it off the cuff. Really should have looked that up before we started our podcast.
Number 1.
Yeah. Number 1 is building your brand. What is your, are you using the same font? Are you using the same colors? What are you saying about your brand? I have currently on my Instagram, there is a pinned post that says start here, and it walks you through what it looks like to work with me.
Oh, cool.
So we can automatically tell, are you a dog person? I'm a dog person. Here's the journey we're going to take.
So getting to the swipe right kind of.
Yes. Absolutely.
In a business way.
Yes.
Yeah.
So brand builder, then
Okay.
there's community, talking about your community, raising money for charitable organizations, talking about the great restaurants in your town.
Which is still a little bit on the brand
Oh,
side.
they all
Yeah,
cross
yeah.
over.
Okay.
Because really your brand builder is going to go across all four of these.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, so brand builder, community. Next is education.
Okay.
What can you teach them about, for instance, for us, what can you teach them about buying a home, selling a home, investing?
Okay. So not your education, like college or high school or whatever, but just what it is that you need to communicate to them.
And that's a brand builder because it sets you up as an expert in your field.
Got it.
And a lot of people feel really uncomfortable when you say you want to be the expert in your field. And they're like, nobody can be a true expert on this. Yeah, you can, because you know what you know, the other person doesn't know.
Right.
That's why we do real estate every day, full time.
Yeah, true.
And then the fourth one is bookmarkable moments. So, I could work
like right now.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I could work really hard on posts or really, do this amazing Emmy-winning report, and somebody would go, oh, I like your jacket. Where did you get that? Or worked on all these posts and they like the one that I threw together about my husband's birthday, So what?
It's always shocking. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's the personal level. Like one of the ones that I think is the most bookmarkable that I did was a post that it was, did you know the grocery store that you live by could actually say a lot about the price of your house? If you live close to a Trader Joe's, your house is probably going to be worth more. Now, I don't know that Trader Joe's is making the effect. I think Trader Joe's marketing department and research department is very smart to pick affluent neighborhoods.
Yeah.
But I literally went through some of the different.
Are they selling to the masses or are they selling to the classes?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So concentrating on those four things will keep you off of the politics, the religion, the stuff that nobody cares about.
Yeah, that doesn't really impact it impacts it, but it isn't really a part of what we do or within the control of ourselves or the public.
Right. Because I don't go around on social media. I sell houses. I help you buy houses. But it's the brand that I'm selling overall that you're pretty much going to know whether we're going to get along before we ever really meet.
It's just like I saw a post for Washington, D.C. and like all of the people that are selling their houses in D.C., which even more so now because there are so many federal workers that have been displaced from their jobs. But I started thinking, wouldn't that be interesting to be a sales associate in D.C. that every 4 years or 8 years you have all those changes, and then if you market yourself too far to one side, then you like could have a really good year, or I mean, like that's where again, like that neutrality of transaction. Ooh, that's good.
And
neutrality of transaction. It sounds like a Halloween, but no.
And with some states, you may not be cutting your potential buyers and sellers in half. You may be cutting off 80%. I mean, we're a super red state, so yeah. So
yeah, but really, truly,
if you keep it with the pillars, that it really does make a difference. And then, you sit down.
And I love my people, whether they believe like I do politically or not, or even religiously or whatever. I love people and I don't really want to get into a lot of that because I would like to continue liking them.
Yes.
And I'd like them to continue liking me because we ain't going to get anywhere in this world, kids, if we don't start getting along again. We have got to get along. So I think by being the bigger person and doing your job and focusing, you're showing that you are a bigger person than what is currently getting everyone on fire.
Sure. Well, let's talk about some of the trends. And this isn't just for real estate agents.
You're so good at this.
Well, thank you.
And I love your soap nails, by the way.
Thank you.
Are you impressed that I know that?
I'm very impressed. It's like a ballerina pink meets chrome. So anyway, thank you. We digress down the rabbit hole. But
I was just trying to show my knowledge.
I'm
my
very
trendy
impressed.
knowledge.
But like one of the things I started doing last year, and I just brought it back because I had rotator cuff surgery, and I'm lucky my hair is even halfway done that I could do a bun today because I'm kind of 1.5 handed.
You're doing
as
so
I
good,
heal.
though.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's a hard one.
Oh, man, I can actually lift all the way
My
to
poor
the side
mom,
now.
she went through it and it was awful. I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. So I kind of took a couple of months off, but it's called Cindy's 2 Cents.
Yeah.
And what I do is I take a topic that I think is interesting, or I've heard people talk about it, or I've had a lot of questions about it, and I break it down. So you can do this a variety of ways. Last year, I did it all from my car. Now, I mean, I came from TV news. I had a social media business. I have all the bells and whistles. I have the ring light, and I, have the you open the umbrella around your ring light. And I mean, and real studio lights. I have all that. But sometimes it's too polished and looks contrived. So I really would just be sitting in my car waiting on an appointment or whatever. I just pick up my camera and start talking about one of these topics. And they range from 45 seconds to probably a minute 15. They don't have to be long, but
the other thing about that is you don't have to, it's kind of like waiting for the perfect situation to have time to do the perfect video. You never get it done.
Yes.
But if you can say, you know what, I'm just going to record it in my car. I mean, it's kind of like we're sitting talking into a computer, a laptop with 2 microphones and a ring light behind us. We could do this anywhere.
And Frances is here. She's been hanging out with me today.
So, I mean, like, again, and we could have much higher production values, which at some point we won't want to do that. But our whole thing was we'd rather be able to do it and get it done and get it out because it's the information we want to do, not the production value.
And we're not professional podcasters. That's not how we're making our money yet anyway. But, we're real estate agents who have a podcast to help educate people, highlight our community, get real. So, so anyway, to do these videos, honestly, get out of your own way. More people say, well, I have an accent, or, I don't like my nose, or I hate the way I sound, or whatever it is. And I mean, that's what makes you unique.
Well, think about all the people you love that are celebrities. You don't love them because they're just like everybody else. You love them because they're not like everybody else. I mean, they have a quality that you go, that's cool. I mean, have you really listened to Bob Dylan sing?
Yeah.
I mean, really think about it. Or Willie Nelson, like, yeah. It doesn't make sense to me how we are so, and I'm guilty of it. We're all guilty of it. We're so focused on it, but it's like, yeah, those are the things that make other people love you.
And if you don't feel
and
comfortable,
embrace that. Yeah.
Yes. And if you don't feel comfortable talking to the camera, one of the things that I do, and I do it just because I came from TV news and I know how to edit a story, I actually do the first part on camera and the last part on camera. And then I have the little clip-on lapel mic. They're like $35, super inexpensive. And then I'll just read the in-between part and put video in there. Now, I put all kinds of stickers and sound effects. I do that because, well, I think it's really cool.
And it is cool.
But I do it to keep attention. Because if you are just looking at the camera the whole time, unless you're saying something very compelling, people are going to swipe right to somebody else. They're going to scroll on by.
Yeah.
So I do that with very much an entertainment purpose, and to keep people around. But that's why a lot of times you'll see people who, they say a sentence here and then they say a sentence here and then they say, that is all part of that video to get people to stay.
Because we have very, very short attention spans now.
Oh, yes. Getting
Including
shorter all the
me.
time.
I mean, I get it.
So, and I actually watch Instagram Reels quite a bit, and it is honestly work for me. It's, usually that would be fun time, but I'm looking for what are the latest edits.
I do it too, but I think it's more of a dopamine scroll, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
for most people it is.
I think it's benefiting my work, but I have to be honest. I literally think it's like almost becoming a dopamine scroll. Like I get that where it's like, I can just zone out, like, except now everything's so darn serious. I'm like, gosh, 3 months ago I was dying laughing, and now I'm like, oh, I want some laughter again. So get some funny stuff out again.
But if you think about, you can memorize a sentence and then cut another sentence and then cut another sentence.
It's a great point.
And then edit it together in Instagram. You don't have to use InShot or CapCut or any of these phone apps. But
I think you can get on and say interest rates are lower than they've ever been. Call me today. Here's my number. You're done.
yeah.
I mean, you can do something so simple, or not ever been than they've been in since July. I mean,
Right.
because the public doesn't focus on what we focus on.
Right. Exactly.
So people might go, "Oh, I just given up on that."
And you bring up an extremely important point as far as the social media strategy is with them. And we use that in TV news. What's in it for me? So when I sit down,
I love that. You've used that before, and it's so
With 'em.
good with them.
So when we would write our news stories, it wasn't what we thought they should know. It's what do they want to know? People watch the newscast because they want to know the weather.
Yeah.
So weather is always at the top of the newscast. So you can get, a little punch of that. So think about what's in it for your ideal customer so you can attract them.
Yeah. Or what's going to get them to where they want to go to use you. So like, for example, the whole idea of paying a little bit more on your mortgage or paying it bi-monthly, but paying the same amount, but bi-monthly, how much faster you get your principal to go down, or making one extra payment a year. Like, or, what is the actual, like we talked with somebody, can't remember who it was, but about how you can go back and you can recalculate and figure out what you should pay in order to have your interest rate actually be 5 or 6%. So you have this interest rate.
See, these need to be videos.
Yeah. So like, I think those are the kind of things that I can do.
Yes, you can do.
So see, this is good. So just even sitting and brainstorming like this, you come up with the things. I think sometimes sitting in your own head, and that's where we love working with each other, because we can bounce stuff off of each other. And I mean, and we're not afraid to say that is with them stupid.
Yeah. Exactly. So yes, and that's where it's great that we're the yin and the yang, because you love those.
I'm having
numbers.
light bulb moments. I told you I needed therapy. I needed social media therapy.
But that you're very analytically driven. I'm very marketing and what's super shiny right now driven. In fact, the last video I just did,
which both have their value.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And together we make one whole person.
There you go.
But like I figured out how, and I learned it off of an Instagram reel. I'm sitting here and the words are coming behind me.
I love that.
And I mean, I learned the app to use. I learned how to do it. It took me about a day off and on. I'd go over there and fumble around with it. And the end result I thought was really cool.
It is really cool.
And but
it isn't
that's
so
me.
distracted. It isn't taking up. I think it's an interesting thing. No, I saw that. I love that. No.
And people say, well, I didn't do TV news, or I don't know how to edit, or I don't know how to do those graphics.
None of that was available when you did.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Just because you know how to talk on camera, and that's the thing too. I mean, I've done my share of being on film and like, filming a documentary, all those things. And it's like, that ain't what we're doing. Like, they're miking you up. They've got these, steady cams, and they've got people. I mean, that's a whole other realm than what we're talking about.
Right.
So that didn't give me any training. You get training in performing arts like I have to be able to speak, but it's very different than like thinking technically you got that stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be on camera either. Reels are really big right now. But in fact, Frances went with me on a listing appointment a couple hours ago, and I showed her how I shoot on my iPhone. Now, there's one extremely good company in town, but they're very expensive.
Yeah.
And especially if you're starting out as an agent, coming up with $1,000 before it ever even hits the market may not be something they can do. So I taught myself in the lean times, and basically I take my iPhone, you turn it vertical, I put it in action mode so it keeps the bouncing up and down as you're walking. Hold the camera in really kind of tight to my chest. And we just walked up to the door, walk in, we, look at the dining room, walked on in, showed the den and the kitchen. Now, what I will do with that is I will put it in an editing software called InShot, and I can speed it up in the boring parts. So, but if you don't,
because you got them for that long.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I only linger on those things that I think will sell the house. But even if you just posted it as a video, it's a reel. People are going to see it. You never know. This is a $310,000 house. It's very affordable for a lot of people out there.
The other thing too that people don't think about is that once someone buys that house, they use that like the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like that is, okay, can my sofa go there? I mean, like I think that's an important thing we don't think about is how much people use it, and it keeps them engaged.
Yes.
On the sell, because whenever we bought our house, there was no video, and the pictures were very hit and miss, so we couldn't even remember like the layout or how, because you only get to see the house a couple of times sometimes after you've bought it.
Right.
And you're trying to figure out, when I move there, what am I going to put where? So that's just all so important for the whole picture. So I think it's even good. I've started sending those videos to the buying agent to give their clients so they can use
that's a
them.
Great idea.
It also keeps them from wanting to see the house as many times.
Yeah.
For your seller and for you. So
yeah. Okay, so some other things. So you've got reels where you're talking and educating. And I did just hear, I don't know if any of y'all follow the Broke Agent Marketing, BAM. They're great. They're awesome. They do all kinds of trainings all the time. And if you ever want to know who to follow, I got a whole list. But they were talking about, is agents educating customers on videos, is that boring? Or isn't Instagram supposed to be about entertainment? So, there is that side.
Yeah, but that's stupid, because then HGTV doesn't make sense, because it's showing people that redoing houses. I mean, that's not entertainment.
Oh, yes,
right?
It is.
No, but I mean, it's not classically entertainment.
But I think they're talking about if you're like, okay, and the interest rates today.
No, I agree with that.
That is not you. I like to think of it as infotainment.
I will tell you this. Information. What bothers me? I'm so tired of welcome. Like, oh my gosh, say anything other than welcome. Like, we've been doing this a long time now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we need to be welcome. Like, it's one of those weird pet peeves of seeing thousands and thousands of the house videos.
You don't have to say your name off the top. In fact, I encourage you not to talk about, I can't wait to show you the backyard and the pool that this house has.
I love that.
And then you
can put your name on the scroll, even, or you can have it like they're coming to that from somewhere that you are listed. I mean, it's not.
But that first line, the first 3 seconds, if you don't catch them, they're on to the next video.
Here's the problem too. If you say, "Hi, I'm Jack Wallace. Welcome to my listing," and then you do the listing and then you're done, they don't remember. If you do your listing and at the end go, so if you want to see it, I'm Jack Wallace, call me at blah, blah, blah. And that's the last thing. So that to me is like, okay.
Always end with,
I'm not going to remember your name at the beginning when I don't even know if I'm going to like this house. But if I get to the end, I'm like, how do I get into that house? That's when I want your name and number.
Always a call to action, if you're
always
on
be
camera.
Closing all the time.
Exactly. So if you're on camera, you can introduce yourself, call me. If it's the property that you're showing, you can put it, in the description of the video. So always end with a call to action. So a great hook at the beginning, call to action at the end. We used to call that in TV news. You would see the news anchor introducing a story, then you'd go to the story, and then the anchor would come back and say, oh, well, to report a crime, call Crime Stoppers or whatever.
Or if you want to help.
So it's almost like a donut on either side.
Well, I think that's really helpful.
Yeah. So another thing that's really good and trendy are Facebook and Instagram lives. Problem is you can't, as far as I know, it changes every day, but you can't just go into Meta and do a Facebook, Instagram that is live at both.
Right.
So you kind of have to think of a dress rehearsal and the performance, or 2 performances, or however you want to think about it. But Facebook wants to be your everything. So they want to be your news source. They want to be your entertainer. They want to, where you go to network, where you go to do business. They want all of that.
So it's kind of like the keychain on Apple. Like they want it, like you go one place and it all kind of falls in place.
Exactly.
Which I do like when I do one post and it posts it across.
Yes. So with the lives, people enjoy watching lives, and they watch them, 5 times longer than they would any other video that you post. And at least it was, Facebook would put your live up higher in more people's feeds for several days.
Interesting.
Instagram, you get an instant notification when somebody's live. If you're on Instagram, it'll say so and so's
That's
live.
so true, because I get
Mhm.
that.
So, and then both of them, you can post them.
So like that would be a good one to go live and say, hey, I just got off the phone with a lender friend of mine. Interest rates have gone to a level they haven't been at since blah blah blah. This could be the time. If you've been waiting, give me a call, and then you're done. Like, it doesn't have to be a
and then it
long
lives
live, and it
yeah,
lives for
lives
a
on
long
your
time.
Instagram.
And it notifies people like, this just in.
Yeah. I was having
That's great.
views off the chart during COVID because all of my open house tours were all virtual.
Yeah.
So I literally, and people go like, well, I can't talk to the camera. What do I do? Oh, you don't even have to be on camera if you don't.
Yeah.
But pretend like you're taking your client around with the camera and, oh, look at this feature. Now, isn't this cool? And
what do you think of the meta glasses? Won't we be able to wear those in tour houses like we're the people?
I don't know, but I'm excited.
I mean, I think that's something we should really be looking at.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. I'm trying to think of what else. I made a couple of notes of stuff that I thought would be. And do you need to go, Francis? Okay, you're good. All right. Let me look at my notes here because I tried to come up with what I thought was the trendiest. When you do reels, picking trending videos, those that are in the top 20,
Okay.
I caution people, and I see it all the time. They pick a song and they don't realize it has explicit lyrics.
Yeah.
And they're selling their design firm. I don't know that that's the clientele they're going for. It was my husband's birthday earlier this week, and I used "It's Your Birthday," it's your birthday, 50 Cent in the club, 50, and I cut it off right before there was a part where it had a cuss word in it because
if you didn't know that was in there, you would have just let it go. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you're picking that trendy music, remember your brand when you do that. You can do interactive polls and quizzes. So for instance, when you do your reel, you have the option of creating a poll. Are you thinking about buying a house in 5 years, in a year, 5 years, or do you think you can never afford it? And getting people to engage with your post. Yeah. Client stories and testimonials. I mean, there is nothing better than when someone else is talking about you. You cannot buy that kind of advertising.
Yeah.
So
and people really rely on that.
Yes. Word of mouth marketing. So if you can grab a quick, after closing, a quick interview with your client, or at least if they give you a written one, you can put it in a graphic, something that you're not bragging on yourself, you are allowing others to do it for you, which is even more powerful.
Love that. All good.
When you post a reel, go in and save it and like it and comment on it, which will kind of start the algorithm to showing it to more people. It's already gotten a comment.
Yeah.
And usually what I'll do is, I'll go in, I'll have a call to action in the description, but in the comments, I'll put that same call to action. Remember, comment buyer guide, and I'll send you my brand new guide free straight to your inbox. Yeah. So
anything that engages.
Yes.
I mean, we're trying to get business, right? So you're trying to get engagement and you're trying to get action, a call to action.
Yes.
And so those are the things that actually get the ball rolling in the conversation instead of people watching and not, it's also, and people are kind of funny because they don't want to bother you. I'm guilty of that. Like, I don't want to bother them. Well, that's their business.
Or I don't
want to be bothered.
I don't think you would sell a house in my price range. I sell all price ranges. Yeah. Hello. I sell all price ranges.
It's called the success problem.
Yes.
Deal with it forever. Yeah. I mean,
exactly.
Yeah. It's crazy. That's one people don't really know about in real estate and how easy it is to get in that. And it's great when times are really good in those high end but when it's like you need those 2 and 3s to kind of, you need to keep communicating. And the one thing that John and I always did is we advertised all of our houses at the same time. So people saw you with, a lot of people tend to only want to put their face in front of the big showy properties. And then people start going, that's what they do. That's all they do. And that's how you hurt yourself. You need to really balance that equation. Or if you're getting a lot of high-end homes and you're wanting to start, anytime you get one, really feature and sell that house so people see that that's what you're doing.
And remember, you can feature other people's homes. You just have to say who it's listed by.
Yeah.
But if you don't have any inventory and you call listing agents and say, hey, I would love to do a tour, and of course I'll put that it's your listing. I mean, people don't always read the small print. They don't always read the description, but they see you in front of other houses. And to tell you how important all this social media is, I got a call. This is not a setup.
Feels like a setup.
I got a call from a guy in Colorado. I actually took the screenshot because it went to my voicemail. He said, I've got clients that are moving from Tulsa to Colorado. They had their house on the market last year. It didn't sell. They've taken it off. They want to go back on. I feel like they need somebody who's really big on social media to market their house and get it in front of more people. I went on Instagram. I immediately found you and knew you were the right person. 5 o'clock tomorrow, I have my meeting with
That's
the
awesome.
with the sellers.
Yeah.
So, when you can start getting referrals, when people call you that
Not
you
because
don't
they know you, but
Yes.
because of your presence, which is, yeah, I mean, but that makes perfect sense. I mean, I think that's the thing too. Like, we always say, if you're not, and also like for people that are looking at it, there's so many ways to backlog market and to do the different things. So your house isn't necessarily not being marketed if it's not always on social media. So
Absolutely.
like, that's an important thing for people to listen to. But I think it's important that people understand also that sometimes when you're selling yourself and not houses on, because people start seeing the same house too much, then they wonder why it hasn't sold. Like, you have to be strategic on how those things are timed out, used, and like getting that bang where, wait, I haven't seen this house before.
Try to use, to quote one of our former presidents, strategery in every part that you do. For instance, like with
sounds like something from Wicked.
Strategery. Strategery. But like with Envision Homes, we have the model open every Saturday and Sunday from 2 to 5.
Yeah.
A lot of my homes, I will only hold them open if they want to do an open house once to twice a month, because I don't want people seeing it all the time.
Scarcity is an undervalued part of our job. Like, you have to, there's if it's too available, people assume it's always available and they keep going, I'll go next time, and they don't show up, or they don't feel the need to jump in because, oh yeah, I think that's something, I think that's something that people, and everyone has their own opinion on that. And we could be wrong, but I do think that's something that's very smart.
Yes.
Like, you're doing Envision Homes, those need to be open all the time because you're selling multiple
custom homes.
Yeah. So that's the difference. But if it's one house and you're trying to sell that one house and it's always open, people go, I'll go next weekend because they're always open and I want to go do this, instead of, oh my gosh, I've been wanting to see that and it's open.
And make sure everything is branded the same. When we're talking about brand building, that your flyers look like what you have on social media, that look like what you have on your website.
So it's a whole biosphere.
Yeah, because when you think of the Starbucks mermaid, I mean, you see that logo and you automatically know what company they're talking about. That's you want to have that. And if you're editing your own stuff, I highly recommend Canva. If you have
awesome.
Chenoweth and Cohen, we actually have a 16-person marketing department that makes sure, okay, that your brokerage logo can't be smaller than half the size of your logo. Luckily, I know all that because I wanted to churn my stuff out faster. But Canva is an option, and if you'll find out the exact color combination of your broker, the font that they use, you can have that cohesive look if you don't have those specific things within your brokerage.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We've got a lot of stuff covered.
Yeah.
I probably talked too long about my negative feelings right now about how people are doing it, but I think
that's on your heart right now.
And I think it's important. I just think it's really important that we, I think sometimes we say you should do more social media, you should do more social media, and people take that and then it like becomes a monster. So I think in a responsible way of saying you should use social media in the right way, that's a different thing. And I think that's what you're talking about. I think everything you're talking about is smart business. and it's a smart presence, and you're doing the right thing for your clients and for yourself and for your business. So,
And if you look at, what legacy do you want to leave? What,
Mhm.
who is that ideal client? Keeping that in your mind really helps you be focused. And another thing I do is I usually sit down. One of the reasons why I'm not posting this much this week was because I didn't do it last week and I went to Dallas instead. But yay,
You
visited my
saw your
kids.
son.
Yeah, saw my son.
You gotta have a life.
But I usually for about 2 days I put together most of the stuff for the month,
Yeah,
and then I'll just record videos as they come.
that's awesome.
So anyway,
Awesome.
I could talk for hours, and we'll have to do an AI
Yeah,
podcast
yeah.
too.
Well, and I'm serious. I want your help, and I want to, start getting a little bit more. I mean, I'm not really wanting to go too far with it because I
Right.
think that, like where my comfort level is and what I think, but I do think there's so many things I need to start implementing that I'm excited for you to help me, and then we can talk about that as we go. So,
Awesome. Yeah.
yeah, because I think, I was talking earlier to Francis. It's like I'm having to rebrand myself because I've had the realization I've been sort of associated with a partner for many, many years, and then that is no longer. And then, doing other projects that were sort of very intensive, and it's kind of like you find yourself in different phases of your career. So then you got to figure out, well, who am I now? What do I want? I mean, it's all those same questions. I think sometimes we go, oh, they've made it, they're there. It's like, you're always reinventing yourself. Yeah.
I'm in
Which
my
is exciting.
Yeah,
I'm
it is.
excited. Yeah.
And also I want you to keep in mind, the better you get at your marketing, the more you're out there, the more haters you will have, no matter what your industry is. I mean, just, my thing is though, I am willing to help anyone at any time.
But you just got a little emotional.
I
I mean, I think that's what I'm saying earlier.
Yeah.
And I'm not picking on you. I'm saying, like, how sad, because that is the world that we're living in. So this isn't, and part of the reason why I don't open myself up and I'm on social media a whole lot is because, I mean, I have watched my friends be destroyed by it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, destroyed by it. So you need to be ready for, and also
and even the
be
jealousy.
smart, because you're putting a lot of information out there that can be used in not great ways also. So
Right.
be careful how you present all that. And
And if you want to be the dancing realtor, that's great. But a lot of people may not want a dancing realtor to sell their home.
Yeah.
But
why do they have to be mean about it? Just move on.
Yeah.
But
yeah, just be prepared. Anytime you are successful in a career, you put yourself out there, there is that risk. And my belief is, if social media isn't your thing or whatever, that's great. That's great for them. That's awesome. I'm glad that's working, because there is enough success for everyone. And a lot of agents don't like social media, and they may have been doing it forever, and they already have that referral base built up.
I also think it's important. Don't pay attention to the haters, and be careful not to get too caught up in the hype.
Yeah.
Because it's really easy to get caught up in everybody loves me. And then when someone doesn't, it's so devastating. It's like, just understand it is what it is. You're trying to just build a business, and you're trying to build a consistent and slow and steady business. So like all those things become very adrenaline.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, we're all like, I find myself realizing, I can get caught up on how many views, how many likes, I mean, we do that. And that's part of how you monitor where you are in your business.
Because you want to do the things that are successful, rinse and repeat. Don't do what isn't working.
But the studies on high school kids and their self-esteem, and the correlation between the likes on Facebook is frightening.
Yeah, it is.
So we can't be hypocritical about them and wonder where they're getting that when we're doing the same thing. So it's like, take all this with a grain of salt. Let's try to be kind. Play nice in the playground.
And when somebody tries something and puts themselves out there, be supportive. Don't
celebrate.
Yeah. There's enough success for everyone. And the sooner you jump on the social media bandwagon, if that's what you feel is going to help your business, the quicker you will have success, because everybody started out with 0 followers. Mm-hmm. Everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we all have a voice, and we're glad that you're listening to ours for the last probably
3 hours.
Yeah, but I think this is good, and I think this is something that you have such a gift. And so I apologize if
For
you're
what?
under that scrutiny that that you like. If I apologize that people can be like that, because I understand that, but it's like, you know, I
But
just,
here's how I combat that. Be even more successful. And I'm starting a mentoring group. It's called the Closing Crew.
Yeah.
People who help me out with open houses, I'm going to help them be better on
Yeah.
social media, or, you know, tell them what I've learned in the business, because that's you give back. You take hate when it comes up, or criticism or whatever, and turn it around and give with kindness. Maybe not to them, but
what is it?
others.
Kind of like laugh all the way to the bank. I
Yeah.
used to say that. Now I'm like, laugh all the way away from you.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again, everybody. And we hope that you got something out of it. And we will see you next week.
Get real.
Get real.